Welcome to the Pitch of Discontent. Owen back again for another guest episode. Very pumped for this one. Gonna have a sick chat with Chas from Justice for the Damned. Hello, sir. How you doing?
Well, good, mate. How are you?
I'm good. We were just shooting the shit, talking about coffee. You're a barista, is that correct?
Yes, I am. I'm definitely not probably the full definition though. I'm not as good as, for example, my younger sister,
Yep.
who is actually a barista. I've definitely just sort of scraped my way along. So yeah, I make coffee for a living at the moment, and teach a bit of drums. And honestly, I just juggling all sorts of different things at the moment, getting ready to tour. Really.
Yeah.
So the coffee game is, yeah, absolutely a love for me, but it's definitely not my strongest suit.
Yeah. No, I appreciate the idea of having to juggle a multitude of different things to kind of get by. So
yeah.
I can relate to that. I actually did a barista course a number of years ago now when I was like between work, and I was just like, oh, I like coffee. I'll do a course. Maybe I'll pick up some work in a cafe somewhere. Never ended up doing anything with it, but I did like a full day intensive course. And as someone who enjoys coffee, like learning how to make proper coffee and like learning the right temperature and like all the different types and stuff, I was like, oh, this is fucking dope. I just
This
like,
is why you're doing it at home, bro. That's why
yeah,
you're
exactly.
drinking heaps of good. Yeah, this is why you got the good beans at home, because you know what you're doing. That's the mate. You got to get you got to get a good machine for home, mate. That was definitely a big one for me too, and it was actually what made me confident to start making coffee again recently. Because I've only been there about 4 months now. Before that, I was on the tools mainly for like 6, 7 years, or a long time. I don't even know, maybe even longer. And it made coffee a lot in my early 20s, you know, sort of like 10 years ago and shit. And I just sort of wanted to change big time in my life, and had a good machine at home that was kind of keeping me skills honed. So when the idea popped in my head, I was like, oh, I might go make some coffees again. Like, it was a little backed up by the home rig, you know, which I think just as well, just the Breville Barista Express. The very stock one, a lot of people have it, most YouTube videos on it and shit. That's a great machine, and that is mine. And it's actually Kieran, the guitarist of Justice, who gave me that for a very cheap price.
Nice.
And I've had that for years now and use that every day. But yeah, dude, coffee I could go on forever. It's fucking.
We're gonna pivot. We're just gonna do a coffee pod. Fuck the music. Fuck the music. Coffee pod for the next hour. Strap in.
Yeah, bro. I've had a few. Like I said, I've had a few.
What they fucking are. It's up to you to decide. Will you break down or will you break through?
Chas, for people who might not be familiar with you and the band and kind of what you've been up to with music, can you give us a little brief introduction on who you are, what you do in the band, and kind of introduce people to your world?
Yeah, basically, I'm the drummer of Justice for the Damned. I also play guitar in a band called Whatever Forever with some other members of Justice for the Damned. I've been in the band for about 10 years now. Basically, I've joined at a time where the boys had done a whole lot without me. And it was actually for me an incredible time to join, because it was literally as a single that really changed the band completely. It was as it was coming out, you know.
Yeah.
I just was able to join, and they gave me very early on pretty much full, you know, I was literally just straight away in it, and we were rolling straight away. So I guess that was 10 years ago this year, and we're just, I don't know, like bonded to extremely crazy extents, you know what I mean? And we are brothers. And for me, I guess we've done the majority of our touring through internationally we started sort of 2017, started doing international tours. Before that, years of domestic Australian sort of tours, and through COVID, up until COVID, lots of international touring, which was just a crazy crazy experience. A lot of that obviously stopped for us, but I guess in a nutshell, we are one of the very lucky bands that sort of had a record to help us carry over COVID, and we just absolutely somehow we were so lucky, man. You know, like when I think back to it, it was just like definitely something that shouldn't have grown, and it kind of did. When we came back, things were really good. 2022 onwards, like sick time. Yeah, far out, man. There's so much more obviously to go into, but the boys have done shitloads as well, and we're about to do shitloads now again together. Yeah, that's in a nutshell what's been going on, I guess. The full kit. Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to get into all of that, and I think kind of to your point, like I've kind of followed the band from the very first record kind of all the way through. So around about 2017 is kind of when I kind of got introduced to the band. But it has been a really kind of fascinating watch from the outside to kind of see you guys really kind of get your pop, not only domestically here, but like really receptive international audiences. And one of those rare kind of bands in this space that for a long time you did more touring internationally than you did at home in Australia, which I was always just like, wow, that's kind of crazy that they're able to kind of like pull that off. But
I didn't actually realize that, but it's so true. Yeah, I fully didn't even think about that. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, we'll get into the touring stuff kind of at the back end of the episode because you got a lot of stuff coming up this year. But I think 2025 is definitely like the most Australian touring that you've probably done in a long time. And that's really just a testament to kind of how successful the band is outside of your home country, which, you know, is a crazy thing.
Yeah. Oh, bro, I guess from the inside, it really just looks like we've been so lucky and just so absolutely like blessed, you know, with the offers and just like the opportunities overseas, you know, like it really, a lot of the time, and like we talk about it a lot because it's been really painful. Like we haven't done a record in so long, you know, and that we put out a record in 2020, like I was saying, and that has rode us through like way further than we thought, really, you know, and even watching it actually like literally carry us through, we still don't really believe it a lot of the time, and like we can't understand it because like being on the inside of it, it's just we change, you know, and we know exactly what we were like at the time of doing it. So there's just this crazy contrast, you know, in real time for us in like what we could do now and then. And 4 years go by and it's still like we're still doing international tours. So like we just feel so lucky, man. And it really doesn't make like we don't know. I guess you know, it hopefully is just like a testament to sort of like a lot of the, you know, a lot of the, I guess, I don't know what's the word, like a lot of the principles and stuff that we live by. Like I don't know, like we all just keep like this as just as open as we can. Like we take everything on with a grain of salt and with utmost gratitude and just like complete execution, you know what I mean, out of respect for what it is and what we have and what we do, I guess. And like I think that's something personally anyway, like I think that's really paid off, I guess, like, you know, and we just, I don't know, man. It also probably is the records that we've done as well have just been all that work too, you know, that was able to carry us because, yeah, we really pulled out new versions of ourselves and, you know, really crossed boundaries and just like absolutely pushed what the limits were for us to make it. And, you know, we didn't leave any stone unturned and we never do, you know, and yes, it still doesn't make sense, even though like, I know that's the way, we do things, I guess, but it's been a freaking crazy few years not doing stuff as much here. And for me anyway, like I because of the stuff I've been able to do and not able to do, I've done so much overseas stuff and even less stuff. Yeah, I don't know. It's been such a blur, but this year is going to be easily my favorite, probably, you know, in advance that I've had. Like it's always the start of the year for us where we're kind of a little bit, we're looking at what to do. Like we're planning and like, you know, sort of like figuring out what's ahead, or I am at least, I guess, you know. And this year is my favorite that it's felt because in particular the Make Them Suffer tour that we're doing sort of mid-year, that's like pretty much a month away in Australia, which is
Yeah.
so weird because we've done that before in like overseas a few times, you know, but everything you do here is usually just like a couple of weekenders and like you're fully going home in between. And, you know, there's so much of that tour that you'll have to just be out. And it's like almost a month, which is just like, there's something that really clicks over at about a month's touring. It's really different to like a couple of weeks, you know what I mean? So it's
Yeah.
just that feeling, that click over feeling that I know, and it's so real. Like, especially if you do ones like 5, we've done a couple that are 5. I think the boys have, I was talking to Nick the other day, they've done like months, man. It's crazy, but you really do like the perspective on it starts to get really weird and change, you know. And to do a month here, I just like cannot believe it. Like I can't wait because I also didn't think it was possible.
Yeah.
You know? But yeah, with this year, man, we're fully blessed already. And once again, it's still without much new music, which is so fucking crazy. But I'm really grateful. And at the same time, I'm, you know, thinking ahead, very grateful because we have new music and I believe in it really strongly. So it's yeah, it's just fully insane to be in this position. I'm currently really just so excited and just kind of keen to like prepare. Like I just can't wait. It's just like so. It's beautiful, man. It's quite a good time for us, you know. Very much so.
Let's talk about the new music then, because that's the kind of current thing for you guys, and really kind of after a period of, you know, kind of like a gap between releases, right? Like it's been a couple of years since new music has dropped. You've done that earlier this year, and that's kind of the prelude to a whole bunch of touring stuff, which we'll get into in a little bit. So talk to me about the current. We featured it on the show a couple of weeks ago when it released, and I think I kind of said on the episode then that like it's just Justice doing justice. You know what I mean? Like it is you guys just like axe to the grind exactly like you normally do. But there was a quote in there from Bobak where he's talking about like it's kind of the same Justice feel, not reinventing the wheel, but just making sure that it's groovier, heavier, smoother. So kind of talk to me about your feeling on the current and kind of the feeling in the band on where you're taking the Justice sound.
Yeah, honestly, I just to fully agree with Bobak. I think that's pretty much exactly it. But yeah, it's been really interesting how we ended up here. You know, it's definitely by doing less. You know, that's one thing we really tried to just make the main sort of goal, I guess. Like we really had some good experiences with some really good friends and like some really good touring, and like we just seen that there were lots of things that like maybe in the vein that I was talking about just before we might have been overdoing, you know, and especially with writing and you know, some of the ways that we sort of got to the end result. Like it was just such a at times it could have been a bit more of a slog than we needed it to be.
Sure.
You know, and we just thought it would have been it was interesting to just sort of play on just, you know, pulling further back on, you know, on the way you're going to aim at doing your record instead of just sort of like chucking yourself at it, you know, here's some riffs, bang, 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 and then like, boom, when are we doing this? And then you just winging it, you know, like we just kind of like, we'd winged it so many times, and it's just, that's sick to do that. That's like awesome too. But, you know, it's just, it's that age old thing. Like we had the pressure of change, you know, and it just comes inevitably, obviously. So we just changed as people, obviously got so sick because we really played that other record to death, you know, and it's fast, it's hard, it's quite difficult to play, and it's hard to, you know, when something's like fast, hard, and also, you know, just the nature of our tones and sort of like our elements, it's hard to pull it off well live. That was also one thing that like I think we felt. So a lot of the inspiration, I think, for the current and sort of that vibe and everything that album is going to be, I guess, is for live. You know, a lot of the live shows, as far as the feedback towards us and how we felt, it was like we did have a lot of these sort of bits. Like we knew what felt good too. You know what I mean? Like it was sort of, it's hard to sort of fake that, you know, that that's a beautiful thing about a live show is like there's this authentic thing where like, you know, it's either going off or it's not sort of
it's
thing.
that
Like
present moment type thing, right? Like
exactly.
you're in the shit right then. Yeah,
that's it. Yeah, everyone's connected on this like very strictly present thing, which is really cool because, you know, that's kind of the point of existing. But it's so sick with seeing which bits work because a lot of the time they work for us too. So it's kind of, that's how we kind of filtered to this in many ways. Like, and we knew that we could kind of have fun with like mucking around with the other parameters of and making it us, you know, and like making it, you know, sort of sit in a certain way, but then also at the same time we were going to sort of muck around with like how much kind of like, I don't know, like different elements that like we think Justice is about, you know, which is obviously stuff that goes kind of way back to the beginning, you know what I mean? And which is some weird and really awesome like inspo bands that, you know, the other fellas have that I just think adds to our flavor like in so many sick ways, you know, and they're really kind of out there and don't really fit like what Justice is, you know, but that's what makes them so special. And I think it was just sick being able to kind of just strip back, man. That was a lot of the big goal. Strip back. What are we going to like see? What do you envision hearing Justice on a stage if it was going off? You know what I mean? And that's sort of like what we've done as a whole record. And then we also just wanted to be like, you know, equally as good as an experience as a listener. You know what I mean? It's like I got so many hard hitting albums that like I just want to hear on the way to work. You know what I mean? It's that sort of thing too. It's like no fat. You know, we just wanted to just cut fat. Like that was kind of like a lot more of a lean. You know, we definitely did that. Like for me on the drums in particular, I really had to change like nothing. You know, especially that was probably also because Nick is just, you know, Nick is, you know, writes all the riffs and has just put together the most incredible drum beats because he's also an incredible drummer. And there's just not much point in changing it. But it was also just, it worked out beautifully because it was just the simple versions. Because as a guitarist writing riffs, it's like, you know, you're putting in simple drums for now. And then like, obviously the drummer's going to have a listen and do his thing, you know?
Sure.
And like, that's exactly what we did with Pain is Power as well as some other ways of writing what we've done before where we've just fully jammed in a space and just sort of like quickly ran off and like, you know, put down some tracked up stuff. And it's just, it just was perfect. Just stripped back kind of guitar written as it was, you know, I pretty much just had to learn it hit for hit, which was a new challenge for me. And in itself, you know, this was sort of what we were kind of looking for. And in this album was sort of like, just doing shit that was just sort of different for us. And at the same time, holding it down. But in particular, like just growing that energy that like we know that we can cultivate, I guess. Like we know that we can put on something that's like reciprocal and like really special through this sound that we've got. And obviously doing what we do, it fluctuates, you know what I mean? So we're just like honing in, man. Like we're just going to make that whole set, like that 30, I don't really think we're going to ever play over like, I don't know, 45 minutes. I doubt it. Probably 35 to be honest. But that whole time we're just, the whole crowd, it's
locked
like you
in.
leave there. You just want to leave there, man, like good energy, you know?
Yeah.
It got me changed, you know? So, it got me out of my zone.
I'm a stick in the mud, I'm a different breed, unable to trust, I'm a black sheep, I'm the sign of the flood, the brain is the brain, I spit out the blood. Brain is the brain, I spit out the blood.
And that kind of leads into the next thing I wanted to talk about. So like two of the points that you mentioned there is change and kind of like this progression of the band over time. And like you said, you've been a part of Justice for a decade, and that's a long time to kind of see the progression of yourself as a musician, but also as a member of the band, and then the band as a kind of collective on its own. But the other aspect you talked about was certain challenges in performance, in the live show, and in touring. And I guess I wanted to touch on some of the personal challenges that you've probably gone through, because I know not a certain amount of detail, but I have sort of seen some stuff online that was talking about some health stuff that you went through over the last couple of years. So I guess, can you tell us a little bit about that, and how has that impacted your playing, touring, and how has that kind of fed into this new era of justice moving forward?
Yeah. Oh, far out, man. It's massive, to be honest. Yeah. It's been, it'd be 5 years now. So in 2020 was when I was first diagnosed, and what I basically have is just a chronic. It's called chronic lymphocytic leukemia, and
Okay.
basically it's chronic. The big word. It's something that is just sort of maintained, managed. You know, it's not really. It's rarely emergency like it actually wasn't at the time. Obviously, it was 2020. I got diagnosed, and I still toured heavily for a few more years, including after COVID. My last tour, which was 5, I think, weeks in America, and was a raft tour. So like, obviously, you know, you can sort of gauge by that it wasn't, you know, it wasn't sort of that word. It sort of is that word, but that word that can mean so many different things, you know.
Sure.
And that's the thing with just obviously these sorts of, with health in general, it's just so variable, you know. And yeah, basically, like, all I did for a few years was just sort of manage it, sort of, and watch it, and it's basically just sort of keeping an eye on it and just maintaining good health, and that's how I pretty much was, you know, able to. And then basically, it sort of did start to just sort of progress, which is sort of, they just couldn't say in the beginning if it would. It was around that American tour sort of thing. It was, yeah, I was sort of like starting to feel it, you know, and in particular on that tour, we'd done a lot in the end of 2022 as well, where we'd done Europe, I think, for 4, maybe 5 weeks. And then we came home, and then I pretty much did Australia just straight away, like seamlessly. And that was, I think, you know, 30 something or 30 shows in a row, like really tightly, that I just really struggled with in the end physically. And then it just sort of, I think, just randomly grew to a point where, yeah, they just wanted to intervene. So that was 2023. It took till November 2023. I think I'm getting this right. Yeah, 2023, to find out what to do, because things were changing and how they treated it. So obviously, everybody knows the way these things are normally treated. Like, that has always been a little bit, you know, it's like lots of different perspectives on that. And that's obviously happening right now. Like, a lot of the different science and different things that, you know, are coming out that can be a lot different. Like, that was all happening right at the time that I was sort of due to start some treatment. So it really put it off till about November, when they did find the right one. And it was then when I started. And it was a super confusing time, because you know, obviously it's so new, and nobody could really tell me sort of like, what do I say to my work, for example, you know what I mean? Like, my doctor at the time even said, like, you know, you should be sweet. Like, things have changed, you know, if this works the way it's going to work, you literally, like, what I was to do was literally take a tablet every day. Sometimes go in and get some like intravenous sort of like treatment sort of thing, but literally mostly take a tablet. And like, it was for 6 months, you know, and then I was going to be like a few more months of getting used to not taking it, I think. And then I was back to playing shows and touring and stuff. So that was sort of like what I was looking at. It just went incredibly wrong in about a month, to be honest.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, I should say as well, I did miss some touring previously to starting treatment in 2023, but that was also just separately to my son. I have a two-year-old son named George, who had to get surgery at the time. So,
George.
yeah, he's doing really good now. But
that's good to hear.
Yeah, it's sort of tied all together, unfortunately, which was such a bummer. But yeah, I missed a fair bit there. That was also some of the biggest, sort of most chockers touring that the boys have ever done. You know, I think they did like some fairly back-to-back America and European tours that were pretty rough. You know what I mean? Like, obviously for us, we're just, you know, we're coming up, so we're not doing it any less than rough, I guess. So or any more than rough. So it just sort of went. To be honest, to put it shortly, it just went really wrong, and then I went down a really long road of exploring, trying to find out just what was wrong with me, because it turned out that the treatment made me quite ill, which paused it. And that ended up putting me, a long time where it was just trying to figure out what was going on. And in that time, I basically lost all my balance, and I had like a pretty much permanent vertigo, and it was I was like fairly disabled in weird ways. Like basically what they worked out after a while is that the crystals in my ear that sort of determine your inner balance and equilibrium, sort of that was damaged, sort of thing, the treatment. And so it was sort of I was dealing with a bunch of different things. Mainly that was the one that was really tough. So, and they couldn't work out, but honestly, man, that went on till literally August. When was that? August 2024. Yeah, it was. August last year, where out of nowhere, I just, I guess out of a lot of honestly, just an insane journey, I just started turning it around in August, and then had a few different things sort of come into my life, and implemented a few things, and sort of, really changed as much as I could, obviously, as I had to, because that after a while, the exploration on my symptoms and what was wrong kind of had stopped. And it was a little bit like, let's just good luck, which was really a tough time. And where I had to go, before coming back out of was, honestly, I have to just put it honestly, just as bad as anyone could ever imagine. And just, as hell and back, to be honest, but for the greatest good ever, because what was on the other end was the strength to get out, which I definitely needed, which I gained through how hard it was. And that was just months of just everything I had, to be honest, as well as a few factors that I think I started taking some medicine as well. I worked out something there that actually started to help, and maybe the time as well started to help, but basically it all just started to turn around. And then I got a couple of really good offers to kind of get myself back into the world, because I really needed to do that too. And I was really scared about how I was going to come back. I felt like I'd kind of lost it for good. And, and one of those things was, Justice got offered a tour, which I thought was going to be it. And then Nick, the guitarist, his sister was having a wedding, which fell on that tour, which Nick's sister is very much my sister. Nick's family is very much my family. And we both had to miss that. I then somehow could happen to do fill in for Great American Ghost, which was about, I think it was November, I think. So that was coming up, and I'd gotten offered that, and I just thought, this is it. There was a couple of other little shows that I play in a couple of other projects and stuff as well, and they had a couple of shows. So I had a few things that I could say yes to.
Yeah.
Didn't know if I was going to be all right for them, but I just had to say yes and just try, and just used it as that's the goal, Yeah. And I just fully went for it. And obviously I had the time and an electronic drum kit at home. So, I was just slowly pulling myself out, and I had to learn to do many things again. And it was a really, really long, tough road. Sort of still is. I'm still sort of finding things levels of my body that have lost fitness. I've forgotten, you know what I mean? It was crazy, but I finally got through these shows, which were just such a good thing for me psychologically, and just sort of to plant my feet back on the earth and give me some sort of just some general guidance and somewhere to go. So I just sort of did that. And then the Great American Ghost Tour, which was so awesome. There was also a couple of Justice shows in there as well. I think the Justice shows I did were maybe the second or third. Yeah, they were. It was the second and third show I did back. And that was June, I think. When was that? Oh, God, I don't even remember. Yeah, it was sometime last year, but it was just such an epic experience, and it went better than I thought to when I played them. So, yeah, it's still a mystery, but I'm still doing good, and I'm just keeping an absolute close eye on myself, and just really attempting to look after myself as best I can. But I'm still obviously getting checked up, and I'm still in the clear. I'm still doing really good, and I'm feeling just even better, man, to be honest. It's such a wig out to be just literally even here now, I'm talking to you like this, still in this band, to be honest, as well. Like there were a lot of times, a lot of months, to be honest, where I just thought like, you know, I'm not coming back, man, because like there was no one to actually say that I could really, you know. So you can't help but just go down the rabbit holes, and I just did. So yeah, it's an absolute just honor, and like I wig out and I'm just overly stoked, like kiddish a lot of the time, and just can't believe it. Like the imposter syndrome too is, oh my God, like it's just it's a wig out, man. I just last I remember I was kind of accepting that it was done, you know, and I was just gonna have to kind of, you know, figure out something else. So yeah, dude, that's kind of pretty much the gist of all that, I guess.
You're just another traitor. Live your life as a failure.
I don't know, so much of this music and so much of Justice's music really does kind of focus on this like you know, like overcoming adversity and kind of like finding, you know, strength through that struggle. And I mean, like I'm thinking to the title of the last record, right? Like pain is power, and in some ways, like you kind of lived that. You know, like not only did you write that record and play it, but then like the theme of it, you lived it.
Yeah, to be honest, that was like a little bit of a like recurring joke a lot of the times, to be honest. Like, well, it was, I don't know, man. I can't sit here and like say, you know, oh, are you there?
Yeah, you just froze.
Sorry,
you just froze a little bit.
You froze too, and I was like, oh no.
I can still hear you. All good.
Cool. Yeah. I to be honest, I can't sit here and say like, yeah, absolutely. Like, you know what I mean? I'm never, you know, I'm never going to paint myself as sort of more than anyone else. You know what I mean? Pain is relative, you know, and that's one thing I just understand through all that as well. But it is just such a wig out to see just the way things have unfolded in our writing, because like the way we've sort of gotten there hasn't even really exactly been, you know, like directly, you know, we've sort of been very, very strung out and stuck on writing. Like we've really, really worked our asses to the bone on writing lyrics because it's not been our absolute strong point. And, you know, and it's a lot of that is actually because we are a bunch of really huge personalities with like really big, beautiful writing styles. You know what I mean? Like, especially since Kieran came into the band and he was the guitarist of Cursed Earth and wrote like Cursed Earth. You know what I mean? Like, so unbelievable writers in our band, and it was if anything like what made things really hard sometimes, because it's just there's so many ways to understand so many different things, and you know, anything in particular, I guess, if you look at it that way. So it was always really trying to bring everything back down to somewhere like a little bit more kind of defined, you know, that we were always finding struggle with. So it's actually kind of weird that we've ended up there by default in trying to do that. You know what I mean? We've sort of all come from our own places. It's all been too different. And then as we've sort of like honed in everywhere we can and just tried to bring it all down to earth a little bit, because a lot of our stuff was just everything everyone's ever done has been so good. It's just too much for a song. You know what I mean? Songs just absolutely demand a certain level of like depth and things like that. I guess that's probably a good word for us. We're very deep people, you know. I think it's probably one way to put it as well. But it's sort of, I guess, happened by accident. Maybe because there's a little bit of experience in it, but like we're not ones to, I guess, parade that. You know what I mean? Like I don't know. I'm so interested in other people's lives, like, and their hardships and what they make of it. They're all the same. So it's like, I think it's just maybe a fascination of all of that and a little bit of struggle and just an absolute, you know, just a honed in expression of that, I guess. It's pain is relative, but here's ours, I guess. And
Yeah.
we feel what we feel. I guess a lot of the time we've got to put it to the side, not feel it, and this is our way of absolutely like defining it. You know what I mean? And for me in particular, it's been my in particular way to define it, and it's been an absolute honor to be able to write, upon that and have it received and understood by people that really matter to me, and then have the opportunity to put it in places like where we've been able to put it, and even have the other boys even have their own say and their own feelings and words on maybe the same thing or what it's meant to them about their own lives as well is so special and so full on that it's like an honor. Yeah, it's crazy, man. It's just, I think, I think maybe a lot of it comes from our understanding of our own pain and others and what we make of it through others and ourselves. It's a lot of help, I guess. Like hopefully for everyone else the same way it is for us. That's sort of one way to look at it as well.
Well, that's kind of like what I was kind of getting to, I guess, is that like, as important as kind of returning to the band and being able to fulfill that kind of expectation that you had for yourself and be able to kind of meet your bandmates on the same level, in a performance level, creative level, all of those things, like that helped you get through that struggle and helped you get out of, that place that you were in. And I'm sure, and I'm sure there are fans of the band who get the same kind of inspiration from the music, right? Like they may not be intimately involved in writing it or playing it, but definitely being fans and listening to it, like I'm sure they're getting their own relativity from it and using that to kind of progress through their own lives. So in a way, you're helping other people. Yeah.
Oh man, that's the hope. Like we're huge fans of that too. That's the other thing. Like me in particular, and Nick is too. In particular, all of us actually like really, really big in philosophy and just all of that as out of necessity too. Just it's just been something we've all gravitated towards probably, and it's such a crazy thing to have some of that stuff land and work. When it does. It's not all the time, obviously, and you can go forever and get nothing, but sometimes you can just get some things that stick to you and implement, and then off you go, and then you can look back on it and it's like an actual change there. And it's just, if there's any of that at all, that's just too much to handle. Like, that's just that's so beautiful and too kind, but like, I just think doing it is as powerful. Like, it's just such even having it get knocked back and you've got to cut it up and go through such struggles getting to the end as well. All of that plays into it, and like it just becomes this thing that you can be proud of, and I guess finally be understood about too. You kind of read back yourself, and it's like finally just a clear understanding of like something that you've really got to just kind of travel alone. It's like a good way to put it on kind of paper and just like have it exist without any effort.
Yeah.
So
I went and saw Hatebreed here in Melbourne last night.
Sick.
And it's funny because like in the same kind of conversation that we're having now, like I think of like listening to Hatebreed and like listening to like Jasta's lyricism in a way is kind of like my own kind of self-help. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, bro. And you know what? Ed, we've talked a lot in the past about Hatebreed and that, but like when we've been writing, it's been a big, something we kind of just like, bring up at time to time, like just kind of as a little bit of a, kind of puts us back on angle a little bit, because that's just kind of been, some of the same energy we've noticed, you know what I mean? But I don't know, man. I can't really explain how it wasn't a decision, there wasn't any way we decided to write about this. I don't even really think we talked about it. It's just, it really was an expression of everybody, and everybody has such a hectic like share of writing too. That's the other thing that like I just think is so sick about us and special, is that it really is like quite a really very nicely shared kind of expression. Everybody's really got some like feed in it, and it's just seamless in a way, in a lot of ways, and at the same time, like I guess if you picked it out, you'd probably see it, you know. So it works, and it's a sick journey getting there too. So I think that's just the positive, I guess. It's something we'll continue to do as well. I hope for sure. Yeah.
Searching the wheels of time are turning. Inferno blowing. The house you built is burning. The house you built is burning.
I think let's talk about the touring that you've got coming up, because as we've already mentioned, you got a big year ahead, and I'm sure there's going to be probably some new music and announcements and things coming down the pike. So we don't have to get into any spoilers for that, but you got a bunch of touring announced. So let's kind of run through that. So you'll be on the road with Threshold from Melbourne over the next few weeks, doing an Australian run. And then you've got the Terror Loud headline show in Darwin in May. And then you've got and then you've got the Make Them Suffer run that you mentioned before in June and July, which is going to be sick as well. So I guess talk to me about the next couple of months for you. Like, you're going to be on the road, going to be playing a lot of shows. How pumped are you for that?
Oh, so pumped, man. Like, I can't even. I'm too pumped that it's just starting to get a little bit nervous. You know what I mean? I'm like, oh, Jesus, what's going on? And it's just going to be better than I thought, you know, in many ways. It's just really quickly turned into just a sick year. And we've only put out one song, and like there's so many more to come. Like, we had so much time to just really prepare for releasing it, I guess. And we've got so much to give that's just all ready to go, you know, and it's quite a first for us too, which is such a weird thing. It's adding to the weirdness of right now, you know, but I think, we're just like pretty much ripping the headliner next week, which is, it's actually really, it's going to be such a good tour because it's just 2 weekends that it's sort of like just back to back and nice and, you know, smooth, good routing and good venues. It's going to be easy, small, just kind of like just hardcore shows, man, which will be great. Like the Black Bear Lodge, and we're doing Blacktown, which is just like, I don't even remember when we did Blacktown. Like, but they've done Blacktown with me, but even the boys have been doing Blacktown who knows how long. So just to be doing all that kind of stuff, that's going to be rich. I'll probably bring my son to Blacktown as well, which will be just so hectic. You know, I haven't done any of that yet. So little things like that I'm really excited about, man. I got like a new kit that I'll use, and like I think the boys have got some new stuff to use as well, and new music to play, man. Like, we've sort of been really like we've been a bit torn between us as a group, like how much to play live, and it's been tricky because everyone's right, you know. It's just there's no real right answer. So like, it's just going to be sick to finally kind of just absolutely play some new stuff. It's just, once again, it's full change, and we're going with it, which is, felt needed for a while, you know, especially playing a lot of a lot of Painter's Power, man. We played a lot of Painter's Power. So, well, the boys played, you know, even more than I did. So, then just, I think Darwin's the only thing in between at the moment, in May, and then June, July. That's like a month regional.
Have you guys played Darwin before?
Nah, I've never been, bro, and I cannot wait.
I've never been either.
Oh, I've been
through the airport, but I don't count that as being to Darwin, because every airport's the same. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but sometimes going to those like those real country ones, even to stop in is hectic. I love doing that. That's fun. You know, it's a different experience. It's awesome.
Yeah. No, I've been talking to the guys who do promotion for Terror Loud. I ran into them at Big Sound last year.
Oh yeah.
The Darwin stuff is super cool. Like, there's really cool bands up there, and they've got a nice, like, you know, very like passionate, heavy scene up there. So I think to have some real heavy hitters like Justice kind of roll through town, like, that's going to be sick for everyone up there.
Yeah, and to go with Dreg too, like, there's such like old school mates of ours. Like, in particular, the guitarist Zach is the original guitarist of Justice for the Damned as well. You know, so it's just going to be, you know, they're all such close friends of ours. So like, that's just going to be such a good time, you know, especially to have nothing else to do up there. Like, we just got to do the show, and like, we'll just be after that in Darwin with Dreg. That's one thing I'm just
Go
like,
see
can't
some
wait
Crocs
for.
or something. Yeah.
Oh, anything, man. Just being there would be so sick. Like, yeah, you're right though. It's just so awesome seeing what's happening in places like that, like North Queensland. Luckily, we've been able to go to a few times in recent years, and like, oh man, it's so good up there too, you know. And everyone that goes gets it. It's a sick time, you know, because it really is a different part of our country, but the shows are so much fun, you know,
Yeah.
and the scene is well and truly happening, you know. People are
Yeah.
there, keen to do it, keen to go, and they know everything about what's going on. It's just it's so sick.
I was
And I'm
talking
sure
to
Darwin's the same.
I'm sure Darwin's exactly the same.
Yeah.
Like I was born in Rockhampton.
Oh, were you? No way, bro.
Yeah,
I'm from the
dude.
sunny coast.
Oh shit, there you go.
Yeah,
I was just on the
toured,
Sunshine
like,
Coast.
no way. Yeah, I toured in my original band before Justice up there like maybe 8 or 9 times before I even left Queensland. Like before we left
Wow.
Queensland, and played with yeah, I do remember bands like Red Ribbon Army and like you remember Red Ribbon Army from Rocky? No, you never heard of
No.
that? Oh, bro, there was so many bands from up there. I've been there so many times and played shows
Yeah.
as a young fella. So that's
I
crazy.
was we had Josh from Hands Like Houses on the show a couple of weeks ago, and they were doing a regional run with the Butterfly Effect, and they started up north in Cairns and were kind of working their way down. And
What I give to be on that tour, man! I'll tell you.
He was having a blast, but like a couple of the shows got canned because of flooding, because it was summer in North Queensland.
Yeah.
But we were kind of talking about it, and he was like, "Man, the shows are dope." He's like, because people really come out because you know, as you know, like that sort of stuff doesn't happen every weekend. There's not 5 different shows on every week. It's like really like a bi-monthly, maybe even just a monthly affair. So like if you're into the shit that we're into, like you put that on the calendar and you're like, oh, I'm going to go to that fucking show, and everyone rolls out and it's a sick time. So I think like lots of bands have really made an effort to kind of go out there and do regional touring. You know, I was talking to the guys from In Heart's Wake at Knotfest the other week, and they played up there. They played in Rockhampton and managed to get a circle pit going at the Great Western Hotel, like in the fucking rodeo section. So like that's cool.
Yeah, I saw that.
So yeah, I think people from that area of the world, like they appreciate it. You know, like if bands make the effort, they'll give them, you know, 100-fold in return.
For sure, yeah. Oh, they're just such lovely, down to earth people too, man. Anyway, you know, I'm a Queenslander as well, bro. You know, so I feel very at home up there anyway as well. So I'm probably a little biased, but we do love it as a band. Like the North Queensland tours are always the best, bro. We've done them with like I think Die Hard and Alpha Wolf are the 2 I can remember. Such good mates of ours. So it's like if you do it with mates too, oh, what a freaking time, man.
Yeah.
So good.
And speaking of regional stuff, like the Make Them Suffer run in June and July, that's a regional tour with a bunch of dates. So I'm sure you'll be hitting some cool spots.
It's like only regional, I think.
Okay, right.
I could be wrong. I'm pretty sure there's like multiple regional WA dates, which is just
that's crazy.
Full on, because what other time is that going to happen? You know, like I don't think they're really like it just if you ever support a massive Perth band again, really, you know what I mean? Like, and that's sort of just such a that is so sick. I can't wait for that, and that's right at the end too. So that'll just be. Yeah, probably a little bit of swimming at the end or something in the Indian Ocean, which I did for the first time last week, bro. I tell you what, that's magic. You got to do.
That's crazy. I've never done that.
Beautiful band. Perth is hectic. I love it. Kieran is from Perth, our guitarist.
I'm actually just thinking I was in India in 2012.
There you go.
And I went to Goa. And I'm pretty sure I swam in the ocean in Goa. So that would have been the Indian Ocean. Okay.
Sounds like it to me.
It was too long ago. It was like 13 years ago.
You got it, bro. That's awesome.
Let's kind of wrap up the main episode here, and then we'll jump on over and do some Patreon stuff. But I guess to kind of wrap things up, Chas, what can fans look forward to for the rest of 2025 for Justice? What can you tell us in terms of what to expect without spoiling anything?
Man, just heaps of music, honestly. And probably after that, more. Like, one thing we just want to do is, like, roll ended more. You know what I mean? Like, this has got a lot that we've got a lot to say here that's ready to go, but it's been ready a little while as well.
Okay.
So I'd say that we'd be looking to do more even again soon. So just a bunch more singles, to be honest, man. And we're just going to rip an album that, in my opinion, is just so much fun to play. You know, that's
Yeah,
the one
fuck
thing
yeah.
I can say about it. And like, not that the other stuff wasn't, it's just that the other stuff was also just a big challenge a lot of the time. And this is sort of our way of sort of, I guess, like I said, honing in on, you know, if we enjoy it more, maybe other people will. That maybe like that was an aspect of it too. So like, it's definitely played a little bit more. Yeah, like it's just a bit more groovy and a little bit more hard hitting, and that's what you can expect. The Current is the first song for a reason, I would say as well. You know, we sort of wanted to say this is the first thing of us for 5 years, which is, you know, pretty much how long it's been. So we thought that out quite a bit, you know. But yeah, the rest will just sort of touch everywhere else, I think, and everywhere around that. That was sort of our first foot forward that we all agreed on. So yeah.
Sick. I will put links in the show description for people to get tickets to all the different tours. We'll feature the new music, and I guess we're looking forward to increased momentum for the rest of the year. So pretty excited about that. Chas, thank you very much for doing the main episode here with us.
Mate,
this has
no
been
worries.
this has been a dope chat. We are going to go cut it up on the Patreon for another couple of minutes. We're going to get some inspiration for the new music from you. Going to play some tracks. So if people want to join us over on the Patreon, they can do that. Links are in the description. But Chas, thank you for coming on the show.
Yeah, pleasure, bro. Thanks very much for having me. Appreciate it.
No worries, dude. Subscribe now to the Pitch of Discontent Patreon to receive access to extended cuts of our bonus episodes, as well as exclusive behind-the-scenes content, monthly Patreon-only episodes, member-only votes, the TPD community chat, and much more. Go now to patreon.com/tpdpod and join for as little as $5 a month. That link again is patreon.com/tpdpod. Thanks for watching the show.